welcome back to Japan, where we're going to be doing a reaction and review to Seiko Omori, my first one in fact. As usual, this is the review video. If you want to check out the reaction, then pause this, click the little link in the description below. It'll open a separate little YouTube player where you can see the song in case you've never heard it before, or in case you just want to see how I reacted upon first listening to it a few minutes ago. Now, the only thing that's actually happened between that first listen and me doing the review is I did a little Google check to see, because I was like, I recognise her, but I don't know the name. Anyway, before I get into the review, and by the way, if you want to watch the reaction first, you should be pausing now and watching the reaction before the review starts, because it's about to start. But before I do the review, I will actually point out, I suddenly realised I have heard of her before. Not really, the name kind of is a very, Omori is kind of a fairly common name. I've actually got two friends who have that surname as well. But it just suddenly sort of occurred to me, I know her by reputation. This is someone who I've heard about, and yeah, she did make quite a big noise when she was first really sort of debuting, and still is fairly well recognised for a lot of the shall we say, musical antics that she gets into. This, however, like I said, this is the first time I've actually sat down and knowingly listened to the music. And sort of, just being able to say, oh, it's that person, here's the music. And like I say, when I was first listening through a few minutes ago, I didn't actually know with the reputation beside it. So what do we think of this? Well, first things first, when it comes in, partly down to that sort of bright poppy feel, which is matched in the video, and also the use of like the little sort of happy bell sounds. I have to keep on remembering which one is the xylophone and which one's the glockenspiel. I think it's the glockenspiel, the metal one. So I think this was a glockenspiel sound. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but that kind of happy bell sound. With all of that and, the image and everything, it was like, okay, this looks like a sort of very pop thing. This is a kind of, it sounds like if you got a member of a girl group who went solo, kind of, sounds like that sort of thing. And so I was initially thinking, is this some sort of AKB offshot thing? However, the tone then kind of changed, and it went into, it started with a nice simple melody, but then the chorus really develops. And like I said, one of the things that I really enjoyed about this wasn't just the overall sound being very bright and happy, but the fact that it actually developed that into a really nice, well-written song. The chorus, like I say, really interesting, good, the fact that it managed to have such a long developing melody, such a nice, fully developed chord pattern as well, and at the same time managed to be quite catchy on top of that is really actually very impressive, which then backs up for the fact that when I just did my little Google search a couple of minutes ago, I found out that she is a singer-songwriter, so she actually wrote this for all intents and purposes, as far as the evidence would lead me to believe. This is something she wrote herself, so we're talking about someone here who's got definite talent. Who knows how to write their own material and is obviously capable of writing a very good song with a really nicely developed chorus. Reminded me a little bit of how when everyone first heard Sakurambo by Otsukarai, it was the thing that really got everyone was the chorus, and big part of that was it's such an interesting chorus. Again, similar thing, it's not just four chords around, it has quite a lot of development, which made it catchy. I mean, that was a kind of legendary level catchy, even more so than this, but this is still a very strong song, and I'm not surprised. Like I said, it's got 3 million plus views, which for something which is clearly designed and aimed at the Japanese market primarily is very impressive. So when I was listening to this, I can't deny I was just really sort of taken by the whole thing. I thought that it was that thing that I kind of myself really enjoy, which is when you can have something which is of great quality but doesn't take itself too seriously. This was backed up in part by the rather twee and crazy nature of the video, which was also, it had little elements of being cheeky. There was a little bit of leaning towards the camera at some points, which made me think, oh, you don't see that often in Japan. It was it's kind of like, fair enough. There was a slightly cheeky tone to it, but nothing in a, overly trying to be subversive sort of nature. It was just a little bit cheeky, with sort of like weird crushing of fruits, what's going on here thing. It was just a little bit on the cheeky, silly, slightly crazy, but not really anything, weird. Too weird kind of level. So for me, there was a nice sort of juxtaposition. It wasn't too sweet and too twee as to be sickly, and it also wasn't so so full of itself. It had a sense of humour at the same time. So I think the main thing I took away from this, like I say, was the mixture of tone and quality together being like a really good marriage of the two. Now, what backs that up further is that there was something, like I said, the sound was very nice, but there was something really good about the vocal performance. Now, I'll be the first person to say that obviously, as is sometimes the case with singer-songwriters tend to be more focused on songwriting. So it's not like when someone writes for another artist, they tend not to have, just kind of by average, tend not to be the strongest singers vocally. And so her voice was quite light, again, making me think it sounds like she's someone who's maybe come from a pop background and just doing this as a spin-off thing, which obviously turns out that isn't the case. As far as I'm aware, once again, do tell me if I'm wrong. I don't pre-research much. But in this case, what was really interesting is what was quite a light vocal performance was really nicely produced in that layering. As I said at the time, this was kind of nice because it reminded me a lot of, as I often reference Puffy in a lot of these things, because their vocal performance, they were kind of known for basically both of them would sing kind of the same lines. It was like all of their songs had layered vocals and would very rarely go off into harmonies, but most of the time they would just sing the same thing together, which gave a sort of fun, upbeat sound to the fact that there is a layered thing. When you're listening to more than one voice, it makes it sound more sing-along, like I say, because you're already listening to, effectively your brain is hearing two people sing along, even if in this case it was the same person singing both lines. That worked a lot here. It played a lot into the tone of the song. It gave room for harmony to occur when it needed to. And it also just meant that overall the song felt very sort of cheerful and, you know, gave a thickness to where the vocal might otherwise have been a little bit thin. There was good voice control though. Like I said, there was a bit where in the last chorus you could say deliberately kind of cracking the voice on the word crazy, actually, which was to just kind of add a little bit of a fun element to it. So there was nice touches to the vocal performance. I felt that it was kind of intelligently done to give energy to something that otherwise could have perhaps sounded a little bit on the thin side. I'd be interested to see how that works in other songs, whether they're all layered in a similar way, if that's an ongoing technique, or if it was just something for this song, and also how her voice works in other songs. But in this case, certainly I was impressed enough to say that I think this is someone who knows what they're doing. Someone who knows what they're doing. And I think what they're doing is quite interesting, quite unique, with so many different crosses and mashups of genres and tones, things being, almost like a popular thing to do in Japan. It's almost like that's one of the fads, is having, sort of things that, we were talking about this in the previous video, about things that are just like a juxtaposition of different genres. I guess you could almost say it's not unique, but I think that, again, there was this nice play between being kind of poppy and twee and sweet, and at the same time being a little bit on the slightly cheeky, slightly punky sort of direction to things. So, yeah, I am definitely looking forward to hearing more. As always, though, I have to just compliment anyone who has a good, well-written chorus. And any song that can get you through over 5 minutes. I mean, I'm known for being someone who likes the short songs. I like songs to be short, punchy, and concise. Not always, but as a general, certainly for this type of music, I usually like it to not sort of drag on and outstay its welcome. But this burned through 5 minutes very easily and very quickly. And like I say, a lot of that was taken by a very well-written chorus. So, in my opinion, great stuff. I am definitely looking forward to hearing more. As always, you know what this is. You know what I'm going to say. These are my opinions. Let me know yours. So as always, feel free to comment. Liking, subscribing, all the YouTube stuff is much appreciated as well, if you don't mind. Feel free to follow any of the social medias linked in the description below. As well as a big thank you to anyone who does the Patreon, because non-monetized, you know what I'm going to say. That's what gets us through. That's what makes this whole thing work. So a massive thank you to everyone there. And thank you to you for making it through to the end of this waffle. So until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these, for now, ciao ciao.